Hey everyone, it's Dr. Sharon Stills here from BRMI, which is the Bioregulatory Medicine Institute. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to spreading the word about bioregulatory medicine. And so today I'm going to be doing a webinar for you on natural ways to detoxify your biological terrain, and with lots of great tips that you can just use once the webinar is done and get started with to help you live a happier, healthier life. And so just a few housekeeping tips for the webinar. If you want to ask a question, you can. There's a chat box. I'm not going to take questions until the end if we have time, but feel free to put them in. Often your questions will be answered by the end of the webinar, so we're going to take them at the end, but you can send them in as I'm talking if you have a question, and then if we see it hasn't been answered, I'll do my best to get to it. This webinar and other webinars that we've done at BRMI are uploaded on our website, which is brmi.online, and you could do /webinars. Also there, if you're interested, you can see information about the tour that yours truly and my co-leader, Kimchi Moyer, are leading in, just about a month, a little under a month, to Baden-Baden, Germany. So a lot of the medicine that I practice comes from Europe, comes from Germany and Switzerland, and once a year, we lead a tour and take people over, doctors, dentists, even lay people, patients just looking to learn more. So if it's something that calls to you, I know it's close timing, but we still could take a couple of more people on our tour if you're interested, and you can read about that as well. If you go to brmi.online, you'll see the information about Baden-Baden. It's a fantastic trip. We go, we visit castles and clinics, and we go to the spa and the baths, and we have lecturers come in and they speak to us in English, and it's an amazing opportunity. And if it's too short notice for you now, because we've been planning this for a while, you might want to think about it for next year, because we'll be getting that one rolling as soon as we get back from Europe in November. We'll start promoting and advertising and letting you know about the upcoming trip for next year. So that's the housekeeping tips, and I'm just going to get started now. So the title, as you can see there, is Natural Ways to Detoxify Your Biological Terrain. And so how do you know if you're toxic? We're talking about toxicity, and maybe you're thinking, well, why do I need to detoxify my biological terrain? Well, unfortunately, I have news for you, as you can see there on the slide. If you ask yourself, am I alive? And obviously you are, because you're here and you're watching and you asked yourself. So if you answered yes to that, which you did, then you're toxic. And it is a sad but true statement. Unfortunately, in this day and age, we are just exposed to so many chemicals and toxins and electromagnetic frequencies that there really isn't anyone who's not walking around with some level of toxicity in their life. And so certainly there are different ranges, and toxicity may be affecting you more than someone else or less than someone else, but we all should have a consciousness about it and be doing things to lessen the toxic load in our lives. And that's what we're going to learn about today. So I want to start off just with a philosophy of your personal backpack. And so the way I like to look at it, because I was saying we need to think about, you are toxic, but is it affecting you or is it not affecting you? So I like to use the analogy of a backpack. So you can see there the tiny red backpack, and then you can see on the other side the big backpack. And so how we know if we're getting affected by things is, what kind of backpack are we born with? So someone who's born with that tiny little red backpack, they have a weaker constitution. And we're going to talk about constitutions in a minute in the next slide. But I just want to get this philosophy across to you. So if you have this tiny little backpack, that means you really can't handle a lot. So if you're born and you have a tiny backpack and you get vaccines, you're exposed to pesticides, you're eating foods you shouldn't be eating, bam, those couple little things, and your backpack is filled, and your backpack is going to start to overflow from all the toxic. And when the backpack overflows, that's when we become symptomatic in our life and disease processes start. So someone else who has that big backpack, they can fit lots of things in their backpack. They can have vaccines, they can take pharmaceuticals, they can be exposed to pesticides, they can have a lot of stress in their life, they can live under electromagnetic frequencies and cell towers, and they might not become symptomatic. And so me personally, tiny red backpack, that's me. It's part of how I probably got into the profession I'm into and why I'm so passionate about helping other people, because I was born with a tiny little backpack and I had a lot of illness as a child. And I've learned I can't change my backpack, but I can change what goes into it. And so just kind of have the backpack theory in mind. You might not know yet if you have a big backpack or a small backpack, but we'll kind of go through and hopefully you can figure that out. So constitution has a lot to do with whether your backpack is small or big. And there are different ways of looking at the constitution. So there's miasms, which we're going to talk about. There's temperaments. There's doshas from the Ayurvedic perspective, which we're going to talk about. There's 5 element theory in traditional Chinese medicine. So you could be a wood element or a fire element. There's the Mucor Aspergillus penicillium constitutions, which we're not necessarily going to talk about now, but they do follow suit with the doshas, so you'll get the information from when I talk about that. And so it's important that we get an understanding, or we work with a practitioner who can see us from a constitutional perspective, because that way they understand how we detox and what needs to be done for us or not be done, and how it needs to be done. Someone with a weaker constitution might need a treatment protocol that goes slower and is more gentle, where someone with a stronger constitution may be able to handle more quickly. So miasms. So we're going to talk about the miasms briefly here. They're related to homeopathic school of thought, and we're not going to go too deeply into it because otherwise I'd be here for like 17 hours. And the benefit and what I'm trying to help you with in this webinar is just to give you tools for thinking about things you can do in your life right away, and things that you can discuss with your holistic doctor to make sure that they're on board and understand what needs to be done for you. So this is to give you education and knowledge. So there are different types of miasms, and the first one is the psoric miasm. And this miasm does eliminate very efficiently. So this miasm, if you're a psoric miasm, you get sick and you might vomit or have diarrhea. Your body's very efficient at getting toxins out. And so you may spike a fever, and these things don't sound very comfortable, but they're actually very good because it's your body's natural mechanism for saying, oh, a toxin came in, let me get rid of it. The problem is when toxins come in and we don't get rid of them. And so I've got the picture of Granny there, Party Granny, and basically that's because I like to think this miasm is the grandmother sitting on the porch in her rocking chair, smoking her Marlboros, drinking her whiskey. She's 100, she's eating McDonald's, and she doesn't get sick. And so she's got the ginormous backpack, she's got a psoric miasm, she eliminates well, and she doesn't really build chronic disease. Strong constitution. We'd all like to be like Granny, plus she looks like she's having a blast. Then the other type of miasms, this is the second of the 4, is psychotic elimination. So the psychotic miasm is not as efficient. And I will tell you, the next 3 are not efficient eliminators. The psoric miasm is the only efficient eliminator. So these people, and you may be one of them, hold on to everything, including toxins and including emotions. So are you one of those people who got wronged by someone 5 years ago and you just can't let it go? you may have a psychotic miasm. And you also have paradoxical healing. So I see this very often in my practice where I give something to a patient that's supposed to give them energy and it makes them sleepy, or I give something to a patient that's supposed to make them sleepy and it gives them energy. And so that's what I mean by paradoxical healing. We give something where we typically see the same thing happen over and over and the opposite happens. So that's a little bit about psychotic elimination. And don't think it means psychotic. It's not PSY, it's SYC. So just, if you were thinking that, because I'm sure some of you were, I'm not calling you psychotic. It has nothing to do with that. Then we have tuberculinic elimination. You could see my picture of Wimpy there from Popeye. And I have Wimpy there because tuberculinic elimination is very wimpy. It's inefficient. It's low energy, as you see here. It's someone who gets sick but can't spike a fever. And we've been taught, society has taught us that fevers are bad. Take a medicine, take some Tylenol, take some Advil. We got to reduce that fever. But fevers are great. Fevers are healing. Fevers are the way the body, the natural innate healing power of the body, creates a burning in the body so it can burn up toxins and burn up bacteria that doesn't belong there. So we don't want to discourage fevers. If a fever gets very high, 105, 106, then it might be a different story. But everyone's popping anti-fever meds when they have 100 or 101. And what happens is we suppress the body's natural ability, and now you can't create a respectable high fever. So tuberculinic, they can be very emotional. They always see the grass is greener on the other side. They love to travel. They could be demineralized, not have enough minerals. And that inability, so they might have like chronic swollen glands or always feel off and just like virally, and they can't get a fever. They can't burn things up and move the toxins out of the body. And then we have the last one, wedeck, which is yet another ineffective eliminator. And this type of miasm, you're not in tune with the flow of nature. You can see like the hole in the brick wall. This kind of person will destroy themselves, their tissues, their emotions. And so yet again, another ineffective eliminator. And so just to have a consciousness of this, because we're all individuals biochemically, constitutionally, and how you are and who you are, it plays a really big role in how we treat you. So now I'm going to jump over to Ayurvedic doshas, because that's another way of looking at who are you, what's your constitution, and how do you handle life. And so there's Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And so Vata patients, the element is air, and Vata patients tend to be taller and skinnier, very lanky. They can be very anxious. They're moving around. And Vata imbalance, or sometimes we call it deranged Vata, to me is a symptom of what's going on in our society today. We're all over the place. We have no focus. We're doing a million things. We're stressed. We're not nurturing ourselves. And that's what happens when our Vata gets out of balance. Pitta is the fire element. And so Pitta, if you're Pitta, you might be very muscular, athletic. You may have red hair. That's a telltale sign of Pitta. You have a lot of fire, a lot of drive. Pittas are leaders. And Kaphas, the water, the earth element, Kaphas tend to have more weight on them. They're like the earth mothers. They're very grounded, but they can be sluggish and slow, and they have big, beautiful, watery eyes, and everyone loves the Kapha. You just see them and you just want to hug them. And so from an Ayurvedic perspective, that's just a brief introduction. I could do a whole webinar, and maybe I will if there's interest going deeper into Ayurveda and the doshas. But I just wanted to bring it up because we're talking about toxicity, and from an Ayurvedic perspective, Ama is the underlying cause of disease toxicity in all three doshas. Ama is how we refer to toxins in Ayurveda. And everyone listening, everyone alive, has a predominant dosha, but we have a little bit of all of these doshas in us. So, and you might be like pitta prominent and then vata secondary, but we have a little bit of everything in us. We have all the elements of air and earth and fire and water. And so we all can benefit from Ayurveda. Sorry about that. I see. I tried to turn that off, but the little notice that I had an email came up. So sorry about that. Anyway, so moving on. So there are three types of ama, which are toxins. There's heavy, sticky ama, which comes from poor dietary habits. There's ama visha, which is more toxic, which mixes with the doshas and the tissues and the waste products of the body. So not only are we going to get toxins from what we're ingesting, but we create toxins endogenously, which means internally, from our own tissues, from our own organs. That's part of the natural process. And so it's just a matter of having healthy organs so we create less waste products. And when we do create those waste products, that our organs are ready to take the toxins out of our body. And then there's Garvisha, which is a bioaccumulation of environmental toxins. So we've got what we put in our mouth, what we're creating in our body, and what the environment is doing to us. So we've got three very strong areas that need to be attended to. And so how does ama form? So we're going to start looking at the food, because the food we eat is the foundation of our health. And yes, it's also what we digest. It's not just what we eat, because it has to be digested and absorbed, but just food in general. So if we don't eat according to the true level of hunger or digestive power, if we see what is harmful as useful, then we're going to be creating toxicity. If we mistake our senses and we overeat, if we mistake the timing of our food and we ignore eating according to the seasons, and we'll talk about this a little more very shortly. So our diet, very important in the level of toxicity we're carrying. So what are some signs and symptoms? You're sitting here listening, and so are you experiencing plaque buildup? Well, you may or may not know that. You may have to have some testing to see that. I do some really easy in-office, non-invasive max pulse testing that can show me what the level of buildup is in the arteries. But here's some other things that you can just kind of check in with yourself. Are you feeling heavy, lethargic, lazy? Is your strength off? Can you not do what you used to do at the gym? Or even does just carrying the groceries up make you more tired than it used to? Are you having gas? Are you bloating, indigestion? Those are all signs. Constipation, diarrhea. Do you have excess mucus out of your nose? Or are you coughing up mucus? Are you expelling mucus in your stool? So just different signs to be looking at, ways that our body gives us different clues. And also here, a really important one, is there no flow in your life? So it's not just about the body, it's also about our mental, emotional spirit. And so if there's no flow in your life, if things keep going wrong, if you're frustrated, that's also a sign of ama buildup and toxicity. So here's some really good ones. So pay attention here, because these are some things that you can do as soon as this webinar is over, that you can start integrating into your life. And maybe you take one at a time and really own it, because each one of these can really, really make a huge difference, even just one of them. So I really want to impress that upon you. So the first one, don't overeat. And we are very guilty of doing that. And especially if you go out and like you're eating at a restaurant, it's like the portions they give us are like mind-blowing. And we feel like, oh, we'll just eat what they gave us. So often if you're at a restaurant, it's a good idea to just say, right from the start, could you box half of this? Because I'm just going to take half of this home, and then it's not on your plate. The other thing is, when you feel about 70-75% full, then stop eating. If you're still hungry 15 or 20 minutes later, then go back for seconds, go back for another portion. But if you're not, which most likely you won't be, then you've done your body good and you're not overtaxing and stressing your digestive tract. Put your fork down between meals. Chew your food at least 30 times. That also helps you not to overeat. Wait until the previous meal is digested. So try not to snack all day. We've become these chronic grazers. Have breakfast, have lunch, have dinner. Let your body digest in between. The constant influx of food creates ama and toxicity. No cold drinks. I know some of you are like, I only like drinking cold drinks, but cold drinks put out the digestive fire. They slow things down. So your drinks need to be room temperature. Also, try to drink away from meals. So I take vitamins with meals, so I have to drink a little to swallow. But other than that, drink your drinks a couple of hours after meals or a half hour before. Don't let the water dilute your digestive enzymes and interfere with digestion. Eat pure, fresh food. I think that speaks for itself. You know, an old saying that you hear a lot in the health field is shop the perimeters of the supermarket. If you're going up and down the aisles, well, now you're into processed food. So shopping the perimeters, you're getting your meat, your fish, your fruits, your vegetables, all fresh. Eat mindfully. One of my favorites. Many of you may know, many of you may not, that I'm a mindfulness teacher. Mindfulness meditation is a big part of my life, of what I practice, of what I teach to patients. And so have a mindful meal. Pay attention to your food. It's a miracle what happens when you actually turn off the phone, turn off the TV, close the computer, put away the newspaper, don't have a magazine, don't be skimming through the mail, don't be talking even. Just really be present with your food and experience it through all the senses. Look at it, smell it, taste it, touch it. It's a totally different experience, and that will help you on so many levels. I've had patients lose weight just by eating mindfully. Eat when you're calm. When the nervous system is activated in a stressful mode known as the sympathetic nervous system, it's harder to digest. It's when we're in parasympathetic mode that we are relaxing and digesting. So if you're like racing to get to the office or racing on your lunch, that's not a good time to eat. Standing at the counter, eating in your car, going through a drive-through, not good. Take time. We need to appreciate the beauty of nurturing ourselves with food, and that is a very important act and one that deserves time allotted to during the day. Eat the heaviest parts of your meal first. Don't eat fruit after meals. Eat fruit before, as it digests much quicker than, say, if you're eating a hamburger. So you want to eat the fruit, take a break, and then eat the hamburger. Although pineapple has good digestive enzymes, bromelain, so I've found that I can handle some pineapple, and I let my patients do that as well after a meal. Lunch should be your main meal. I know that's a hard one because so many of us socialize and going out to dinner is a big thing. So do your best on this. Having a consciousness about it is a good place to start. So the reason for this is because Pitta energy has our digestive fire. We call it the Agni. And that's strongest between 10 and 2. And so you want to eat your lunch when your digestive fire is at its peak. And so that too, I've seen amazing things happen for patients, from better sleep, weight loss without changing anything. So that's a really important one. Do it as often as you can. I know I get stuck too. Sometimes you're going out and it doesn't end up that way. You'll also notice that your sleep, I said it before, but your sleep will improve so much better. So lunch is your main meal. Meditate. So I talked about the flow of life. Meditation, it's such good medicine. I love meditation. I hope you all start meditating. It makes me so happy. So meditation, clearing the mind will heal the body, and there's so many benefits. And that's another one I could do an hour long, webinar on. So meditate, find what works for you. I love MBSR. It's what I teach. It's mindfulness-based stress reduction. There are teachers all over the world. You can just Google it. It's based on Jon Kabat-Zinn's work out of University of Massachusetts. Find an 8-week course near you and join. I promise it will change your life. Exercise. So it's important to move our body to help get rid of toxins. So there you go. Those are like sort of simple, but sort of profound and can really make a huge difference. So snapshot this slide and then print it out, frame it, hang it on your fridge, and start working on it. And, you know, like I said, do one, do them all, do one, get used to that, go on to the next one. This will help add years to your life and help you to eliminate toxins. So a couple of other ideas with fancy names. Amapachan, I'm probably saying that wrong, but close enough. This is to help you digest ama, so sipping hot water throughout the day, like every hour, and doing this. It's a little labor intensive, but if you could do this for 3 days, that would be awesome. Lechan, scraping of the digestive tract, so sipping hot water using spices such as ginger or pepper. Agni Dipan to increase the digestive fire via diet and herbs. That goes a little bit. You need to really work with a practitioner individually on these. But just to give you some ideas, like if you're suffering, to know that like, oh, I need to increase my digestive fire. And Panchakarma, which is something that you go, I went and did Panchakarma in India. You go for 3 to 4 weeks, and it's just a retreat where you just kind of cleanse your whole body. And it was powerful. I loved it. I want to go do it again. Maybe we'll arrange a Panchakarma trip as well as our Baden trip someday. So just some ideas, just to keep giving you more ideas, things to percolate. So I'm gonna switch gears again. I'm kind of going through different things because, like I said, I just want to give you a lot of ideas. Maybe you've been doing some of these things, and I say one thing and you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. And that's the key that helps you to heal. And so that's what I'm here for, to just hopefully give you so much information that you might not be able to grasp it all right now, but that 1 or 2 or 3 things will really make a difference for you. So when we talk about the terrain, we're talking about the milieu of the body, what's going on with the cells of the body and extracellularly. How is their communication going on? It's like if you want to think about a plant, and so you see this beautiful plant growing and it's flowering, but the soil is its terrain. And without healthy soil, the plant is not going to thrive. And so the healthy soil in your body consists of all these things, and these play a big role in making sure that the terrain in your body, I call it the milieu, the interstitial space, the extracellular space, but it's the connective tissue. So it's this massive network that connects all our organs together, and it's super important. So pH balance, making sure that your pH is balanced. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about like cancer can't survive in an alkaline state. It only grows in an acidic state. And so there's a lot about drinking alkaline water and eating alkaline foods, but there's also areas in the body that should be acidic. And so we have to really be careful. Like the stomach should be very acidic. It's where we produce our hydrochloric acid. So the stomach can be a pH of 2 or 3, which is super acidic, 7 being normal on a scale of 0 to 14, 7 being neutral, not normal. So we need to really have a deep understanding of this. And this is when it comes working with doctors such as myself, finding one near you, to really help understand what your pH should be and when it should be what, because that's going to help you to heal. Having enough minerals, having the proper fatty acids, so essential fatty acids, think fish oil and flax oil and hemp oil. So these oils are what make the cell walls fluid. If we don't have enough essential fatty acids, our cell walls will get rigid, and then nutrients can't get in and toxins can't get out. Being properly hydrated, systemic drainage. So a lot of times we're always thinking about, oh, I'm tired. What herb do I need to take? Oh, I have a headache. What vitamin do I need to take? Oh, I have an infection. What do I need to take? But what we forget, and what a lot of people don't think about, is not just about what we take. More importantly, it's that we are draining and getting things out. Because if we just keep taking supplements, but we're not focusing on our emunctory organs, the eliminatory organs, the lungs and the liver and the kidneys and the colon and the skin, then what we're putting in necessarily doesn't really matter if we're not able to excrete and get these toxins out. Nutrient uptake, diet, your constitution, your lymph flow, your emotional state. So not only can eating the wrong foods make you acidic, but so can thinking negative thoughts make you acidic. The bacteria in your gut, the microbiome, which we've been talking about in biological medicine forever, but now finally mainstream is catching up and the biome is a big buzzword now, which is great. I'm glad to see these things happening. Cellular communication, toxicity, epigenetics. So epigenetics is also a fairly newer field and is also really exciting, because people used to think, oh, everyone in my family has diabetes. I'm genetically predisposed and predestined to get diabetes. But now we know that just because you have the genes doesn't mean you're going to get it. We have the ability to turn on and turn off these SNPs and these gene expressions. And so you are not destined to get anything. You have some control in these diseases, especially diseases that are more lifestyle, like diabetes can be turned around with diet and exercise and so forth. So, and autophagy and mTOR, which I believe are on my next slide. So I just wanted to touch on this because this is something that's also out there and quite fascinating. And so my autophagy definition is bold and easy to read, and my mTOR definition is a little smaller. Basically, though, autophagy, you can see, is from the Greek word for self-eating. And so it's this regulated process where a cell can cleanse itself of dysfunctional or foreign or toxic components. And so it can then recycle and use these components for further purposes. And so it's a cleansing, is what I like to think of it as, whereas mTOR has to do more with the building up. And so there's a yin-yang type of balance between building up mTOR pathways and autophagy cleansing. And so there are different things that stimulate mTOR and inhibit autophagy. And I just wanted to bring this to your attention because I think it's important to realize that at some point we want to be building up, which would be more anabolic activity. So, think anabolic, like muscle building. And at some points, we want to be cleansing, autophagy, known as catabolism. So we want to be cleansing. And so I just think it's good to kind of understand that there's no so you see here, I have bone broth written down. And bone broth is buzz. Everyone's drinking bone broth. I drink bone broth. I think bone broth is great for you. But it stimulates mTOR and inhibits autophagy. So there's a time and a place for everything. And I think that's really the take-home message I want to give here. So dairy products, of course they stimulate building up. Unless you're a baby cow watching this, then dairy products are not for you, because dairy products, especially milk, is meant to take a little baby cow and make it into a big cow in a short period of time. And that's not what human beings need to be doing. So I'm not a fan of dairy products. I don't think they belong in anyone's diet. I think that there are great substitutes out there now. And so if you want your cheese, there are cheeses made from cashews and almonds and all sorts of yummy things. And if you're going to eat dairy products, then raw dairy products can be more easily tolerated, and sheep and goat, buffalo, camel. So just looking at different options. It's the protein, it's the casein in the dairy that really creates the allergenic issue. So I don't typically have a problem with my patients or myself eating butter as long as it's grass-fed, because that doesn't really have the protein. It's more the fatty component. But what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say just about goats. The composition of goat milk is closer to mother's milk, to our milk, to human milk. So you might want to try goat cheese rather than cow cheese. Plastics, which are ubiquitous problem, hooray, straws are getting outlawed. But, you know, limiting your plastic. So like here, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to take a quick drink. And you can see I'm drinking out of a glass bottle, not out of plastic. Protein drinks, so protein drinks can be really great, but they also can interfere with autophagy, EMS, electromagnetic frequencies, pesticides, iron-enriched foods, 5-MTHF supplementation. So that's another one that we all think is really good for us. We just have to have an awareness. High fructose corn sugar, no good for anyone. MSG, not a good thing. Glutamine can be a good thing, but just to be aware, glucose and insulin and IGF-1. So just to kind of have an idea, and like I said, I keep saying it, but I'll say it again, I could do an hour on this as well. So I don't want you to, what I really want you to take home from this is kind of this idea of like, what you do has an effect on the body. And so it's really important to understand what you're trying to do. And with the internet, there's a lot of good information out there, but there's a lot of information that can be misleading. And so sometimes playing Dr. Google can do more harm than good. And so I do think it's important to have a guide, to have a holistic naturopathic doctor, a functional medicine doctor, an open-minded doctor, someone who understands all this, who can help you. And so what stimulates autophagy, this cleansing of the cell? Intermittent fasting, caloric restriction. So intermittent fasting is really phenomenal and interesting. I do it with my cancer patients. I do it especially when patients, if they choose to go through chemo, we see that chemo works a lot better when they're fasting. It's very good if you're trying to lose weight. There's a lot of benefits from it. And basically, it means that you're only eating for a certain section of the day, which is kind of, you know, when we were in our loincloths chasing a saber-toothed tiger, we didn't eat all day long. We didn't have a fridge that we just went to and said, oh, what do I feel like eating now? And so eating like between the hours of, say, 12 and 8, and then fasting the rest of the day can really do a lot of benefit, lengthen lifespan, and so forth in your life. And then I have some nutrients listed here: turmeric, vitamin D, lithium, sulforaphane, which are broccoli sprouts, bulletproof coffee. So for years and years and years, I never let my patients drink coffee. Coffee can really stress the nervous system and the adrenal glands, and it's a very toxic crop. It's highly sprayed. It can contain mold. And then I kind of discovered bulletproof coffee, and I changed my tune a little. So I think bulletproof coffee can have good benefits for you, and if you have strong adrenal glands, then it can be something okay to do. And so there's just a shout out for that. Green tea, coconut oil, reishi, ginger, melatonin. So just a number of different things. Melatonin is a great antioxidant. When I have patients who are dealing with cancer, I'll put them on like 20 milligrams of melatonin at night. And I'm not telling you to do that, because that's just if you're under a physician's care, but it's a wonderful antioxidant. And often we just think of it as something to help us sleep. And honestly, I don't really use it in low doses for patients to help them sleep. I use a lot of different things. Oh, so here we go. Benefits of autophagy. So why do we want to do these things? Like what's going on when we do intermittent fasting? Well, look at this list. Getting rid of cellular debris, extended lifespan, prevention of cancerous development, prevent neurodegenerative disease, reduce inflammation, enhance muscle performance, and decrease infection. That is like an all-star list. So I'm actually going to back up here one more second just so you can take a look at this, because these are some of the things that stimulate this, and those are some superstar benefits. Hydration. Oh my God, one of my favorite topics, as many of you may know, and I've done a lot of Facebook Lives on hydration, because I just think it's this like really important thing that we take for granted and we don't take seriously. And I think most everyone, unless they've gotten on board, listened to my soapbox and gotten on board and started hydrating, is walking around chronically dehydrated. So I'm going to take another drink of water. You should too while I am. Okay. Practice what you preach. So taking hydration seriously. I can't tell you how many patients I have who come in, Dr. Stills, I'm constipated. Dr. Stills, I have headaches. Dr. Stills, I have fatigue. All these different complaints. And when I find out they're not drinking water, I say, well, before we do anything, we need to get you hydrated. And there's so much resistance. They're like, no, I don't want to drink water. I just want to take, a magic pill, a magic herb to get rid of my headaches. And it's like, no. We need to get to the root cause of what's going on. And so you may not be deficient in a nutrient. You most likely are deficient in water. So once you're hydrated, then if you still have your symptoms, then fine, we can start looking at other causes. But we shouldn't jump the gun and start looking for causes when you haven't taken care of like a basic foundational thing of water. So how much do you need to drink every day? And seriously, if you take nothing else from this talk, take this seriously. Start with hydration. I guarantee you are going to feel different, and it's going to help flush toxins. You can't as efficiently flush toxins if you are not hydrated. So a minimum of half your body weight in ounces. So if you're 200 pounds, 100 ounces a day. If you're 100 pounds, 50 ounces a day. And that is a minimum. I should have that like starred and in red. Because the best thing to do is drink 3 liters a day. That's kind of like my magic number, which activates metabolism and really gets the cells functioning and communicating. And so that's about 99 ounces a day. And so if you're currently drinking like 2 8-ounce bottles a day, you're not going to get there tomorrow. So you need to slowly increase by 8 ounces every couple of days until you get there. And the first thing I always hear is, well, then I'm going to be in the bathroom all day and I don't want to be peeing all day. And to me, sorry, that's just like a lame excuse. Like, how long does it take to go to the bathroom? And is it really that big a deal to just like stop what you're doing and go to the bathroom? And so, yes, I know sometimes like you may be commuting or in the car. And so you have to game plan a little. Like, I know if I'm going to be on a long ride, maybe I drink my water really early, or I know I'll have time to drink it after I get there. Or if I'm going on an hour-and-a-half car ride, I might not drink the first 45 minutes and then I'll start drinking the next 45 minutes because I know there'll be a bathroom when I get there. So, but really, like, going to the bathroom is a normal thing. And think about a plant. If you don't water a plant, what happens to it? It shrivels up and dies. So guess what? When you don't water yourself, your cells are shriveling up and dying, and you may not see it, and it may not be a serious disease yet, but you are doing yourself such a huge disservice. And at some point, it's going to progress to a disease process, most likely. So no plastic, make sure it's filtered, room temperature. We talked about that already. Some of you may be saying, well, I don't like the way water tastes. So be creative. Add lemon, add mint, add cucumbers, add celery, add blueberries, add whatever you like. I use electrolyte mixes, and that gives it a good taste. So make it enjoyable and measure. So here's my bottle again. It's getting a lot of airtime tonight. But I go to the store and I see what juices are on sale, and I buy the glass bottles, and then I come home and I dump the juice out, and then I use the bottles. And so every morning I have this one and I have another one, because this is 64 ounces, and then I have another one that's like 33 ounces. So every morning I fill my bottles, and then I can just visually see. So like you can see here, I still have like quite a ways to go on this one, about half. My other one's done, and it's only 4:45 here. So I like to have my water done by 6. That way, 7 the latest. That way I'm not up all night urinating. But I can visually see it, and I know what I have to get done. Kind of like running a marathon, and you're like, all right, I'm at this mile marker, I'm at that mile marker. And so it sounds silly, but it's the only way to make sure you get your water in. Because if you just think you're going to like drink enough, or I'll get it done, or I'll just drink 8 of these glasses, and then you're like, how many glasses did I drink? And just having it visually there reminds you, because it's easy to forget. We all lead busy lives, and it's easy to forget. So, you know, when I'm working, my bottle's right next to me. If I'm going out, I have one of those, what's it called, the hydro flask. So stainless steel is okay in addition to glass, so I'll fill that water bottle, but always having water with you. And some people are naturally thirsty and they love to drink. That's not me. Maybe it's not you either. So I can empathize, like you're going, oh, that sounds horrible. But you will start to turn on your natural thirst mechanism. I've actually become more thirsty. I was the one in medical school in Tempe, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, 120 degrees, and I wouldn't even walk around with a water bottle. I just wasn't thirsty. So I understand. And another good tip, you can put like 1/4 of a teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon of Himalayan salt, Celtic sea salt in it. That mineralizes the water. If you like the salty taste, that'll help too. But it helps you to retain the water. And when you first start hydrating, you're going to be peeing a lot. And then as your body equilibrates and gets used to it, you won't pee as much. So please, 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 I beg of you, take this seriously. They even wrote it there. Take hydration seriously. Your lymphatic flow. So the lymph is such an important part of our body. It's this separate circulatory system. It interfaces with blood vessels, and it carries away fluids and waste from this extracellular matrix I was talking about, from the milieu, and it doesn't move on its own. And it really is a key factor in detoxification and staying healthy. So what are some symptoms of sluggish lymph? And you can kind of read them here, but I'll read them real quickly to you. Your rings get tight on your fingers. Your skin gets puffy, soreness, you're stiff, you have arthritis, you're bloating, itchy, dry skin, breast swelling, brain fog, fatigue, poor circulation, cellulite, inflammation. So these can be some signs that you've got sluggish lymph going on. So can you relate to any of these, or any of these things that you're experiencing? And have you thought about your lymph? So I want to show you this briefly, and it is Breast Awareness Month being October, and breast health is one of my specialties, and thermography scans, which is a non-invasive way of taking the temperature of the body and seeing how the body reacts and can look at breast health, is something that I'm very passionate about, that I do with my patients, and that I just like to spread a little awareness about here. And especially here, because it has to do with the lymph system. So this is a report from a thermography scan. These are the breasts. And you can see here, there's 12 different criteria that we look at when we're looking at breast health. And so we need to look at the body holistically. Yes, there might be an issue or a tumor growing in a breast, but the breast is attached to the rest of the body. And so What's going on in your liver can be affecting your breast. What's going on in your lymph system, and that's why I put this here. There are about 3 of the 12 criteria have to do with the lymph system. And so you can see here, I don't know if you can see my arrow or not, hopefully you can, but this upper outer quadrant, so I'll show you on me as well too, out here, that's where a lot of breast cancers start. And this has a lot to do with lymphatic flow. So something I do all the time with my patients, especially after we scan them, is to address lymphatic health. And that alone can really help to prevent a cancer from forming. So the lymph is just something, I'm like lymph obsessed, and there really aren't any tests that I know of other than the thermography that show the health of the lymph system. And maybe that's why it's forgotten. When you go to a standard doctor and you get blood work done, they're not evaluating your lymph. So there's nothing to really say about it. There's really no pharmaceuticals for the lymph, but the lymph is so integral to detoxifying our body. And so I just want to bring it to your attention here because it's so, so important. So how can you move your lymph? Sweat. Sweating is one of my favorite things to prescribe. And so I'm a hot yoga junkie. Maybe some of you are too that are listening. And so if you are, kudos to you, because I just feel like hot yoga is such a gift for health. It allows us to detoxify and sweat on a deep level every day. It's a great physical workout, which also helps to move our lymph. And it's also a moving meditation. So we're becoming mindful and meditating. And so it's like this 3-in-1 powerhouse. If you don't like hot yoga, because it is a love-hate kind of thing, I've never seen anyone really say, I kind of like hot yoga. It's either like, I love it, I'm addicted to it, or not for me. So try it out. See if it's for you. Most of the hot yoga studios do like a 30 days for $30 or 2 weeks for $20 kind of deal, because you do need to try it a couple of times. Don't let the first impression be your deciding factor. Give it a try and see, because if it does, it's a great thing to put into your healthcare regime. And I credit my hot yoga practice greatly with helping me to detoxify. If you don't like the hot yoga, I won't hold it against you. You can use an infrared sauna. Infrared saunas are a great way to detoxify. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I don't have an infrared sauna. I don't know what an infrared sauna is, but I know there's a sauna at my gym. So the saunas at your gym are okay. They're not going to be infrared saunas, and it's the infrared wavelength that actually can go in to the fat cells and dislodge the heavy metals, the fat-soluble toxins that are stored there. A regular sauna won't have that effect, but it's better than nothing because it's still opening up and you're still getting to sweat. Hydrotherapy, using hot and cold applications to your body, can be a great way to get your lymphatics moving. So constitutional hydrotherapy, hot and cold foot baths. And so a rule of thumb is you always start with hot and you end with cold to constrict and keep everything in. So something that you can do in your shower every day is heat to your spine. I also have patients do it to like their neck, to the thyroid, and there's a lot of lymph in here. So hot, as hot as you can handle it without burning yourself, and maybe a minute or two of heat on the spine. That's where all the acupuncture meridians run, that the kidney bladder meridians, and they have correlations to all the organs and just the nerve roots, the spinal roots going out that are innervating the different organs. So getting some heat on there for a couple of minutes and then blasting it with cold. So maybe a minute hot, as hot as you can handle it, and then 20 seconds cold as you can handle it. And do a couple of cycles. Like I said, start with hot and with cold. Great thing to do in your everyday routine. It's going to help balance your nervous system, move your lymph, to strengthen your immune system, and help you to detoxify. Castor oil packs. I love castor oil packs. I guess I love a lot of things. We have lots to choose from here. Castor oil packs, I have my patients who, when their thermography show a lot of lymph congestion, do castor oil packs to the breast. It helps to just drain and detoxify everything. Castor oil packs to your liver, which is on the right side of your body, below your rib cage, by your rib cage. Great tool to detoxify, drain the lymph, and just move toxins out. Exercise, getting lymphatic massage, using a light beam generator or a lymph star, different machines that use light to move the lymph. So lots of good options. I do have it on here. I didn't mention it. Dry skin brushing. So you can get a dry skin brush from the health food store, and you do it before you shower. I don't know if you can see my arm, but you brush your skin. It just stimulates, and you do everything from the extremities towards the center of your body, helps get things moving. A lot of times you'll hear using a rebounder and jumping up and down. My experience has been the rebounder and the dry skin brushing are nice, but they're not enough. You really got to get in there and sweat. You got to get physical massage. You have to do some of the remedies I'm going to mention. You have to do castor oil packs. It can take a lot to get the lymph flowing. And unlike the blood in our body, the circulatory system, where we have natural pumping mechanisms, you're not thinking about pumping your blood right now. It's doing it on its own. It's a natural thing that the body does. Your lymph system doesn't move unless you live it. Unless you move it. So if you're sitting at a desk all day, like many people do, you're not moving your lymph. So definitely walking, moving, exercise, but it's just been my experience, especially with looking at thermography scans, that you need to do even more than that. It really needs to be addressed on a deeper level. So here's the legs up the wall yoga pose, a favorite of mine. And so this helps to drain the lymph from the lower part of the body. It helps to relax the nervous system and detoxify. It'll stretch your hamstrings. It'll relax your pelvic floor. And so doing this 10 to 15 minutes a day is a great tool, great tools to add to your healthcare regime. So don't you look happy and calm? And if you stay to the end, you'll get to see a live photo of me doing legs up the wall. So here's some herbal and nutrient support for your lymphatic system. These are some great herbs, high-dose proteolytic enzymes. So when we take enzymes with food, it digests our food. But when we take enzymes on an empty stomach, it helps to move the lymph and digest inflammation and toxins. And so astragalus and cleavers and ocotillo is a great herb here from the desert, from the ocotillo, beautiful orange flowers. And so I used to have one in my front yard. They're so pretty. Sorry, I don't have a picture. I should have put a picture. But that really helps with the lower pelvic lymph specifically. Phytolacca is a great lymph mover. These should be done under a patient, on a doctor's supervision. I wouldn't just go out and do this all on my own. If you want to drink some ginger tea or something, that's fine. But some of these herbs can tend towards the more toxic side, and they really should be done under supervision. Okay, so now a new thing I want to talk about is disturbance fields. And so what is a disturbance field? This may be something that you haven't heard about. This is a more European regulatory term, something that I learned about from my studies in Europe. And so I'll just read you the definition here. It's a chronic symptomatic inflammation with symptoms occurring in a remote area, being the mesenchyme. So the mesenchyme is like what we talked about before, the extracellular matrix, the milieu, the terrain. So identifying and treating a remote disturbance field is of central importance in the practice of biological, bioregulatory, bioenergetic medicine. All of the regulation within and between organ systems occurs via the mesenchyme or the connective tissue, and thus treatments are prescribed which alter the internal milieu and affect change throughout the body. So what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that something that's going on, say, in your jaw can be a regulation blockage and can be affecting somewhere else in your body, an organ, the liver, the stomach, the intestines. And so what are regulation blockages? Well, here's a list of like the biggies. Heavy metal toxicity, which can come from a variety of sources. One of the big ones we see with mercury as well, fish, and also silver or amalgam fillings in the mouth. So it's important, if you do have those and you're looking into getting them removed, that you have them removed by a biological dentist who knows how to remove them properly. Because if you just say, oh, I heard Dr. Stills speak and it's not good to have amalgams in my mouth, they're mercury and that's heavy metals in my body and that creates a blockage, and you just go to your regular dentist and he just drills them out and doesn't properly prepare you or protect you or do it in a holistic way, you're going to do more harm than good. So very important. The IAOMT is an organization of biological dentists. You might be able to get a referral for someone in your area through them. I'm always happy to give a referral if it's an area I know. So just keep that in mind. Dead teeth, jaw infections. So each tooth relates to a organ meridian. So your front teeth are related to the kidney and bladder, for example. Your wisdom teeth are related to the heart and the small intestine. And so there is a relationship. If you have an infection or a root canal, we see very frequently root canals on the premolars, which is the breast, related to the breast. I see patients who have root canals there very often have breast cancer. So there is a very big connection between what's going on in your mouth. My patients know that I work hand in hand with biological dentists, and often I'm kicking patients out of my office to get their teeth taken care of before I even work with them, because it's hard to heal the body if there is a regulation blockage. And so we can be treating the stomach, but if we don't get rid of the root cause, which could be coming from the mouth, then we're just barking up a dead tree and it's not worth anyone's time. So again, another really important theory and philosophy I want you to have in mind when you're thinking about your health. Hyperproteinism, so eating too much protein. The body can really only process about 40 to 60 grams of protein a day, and then after that, it starts to become a metabolic toxin on our body. So looking at your diet. Geopathic stress, so stresses, energies that are coming from the earth, energies that are coming from our cell phones, our microwave, our computers, our TVs. Big issue with regulatory blockages. Scars. So scars you have on your body cross meridians. So traditional Chinese medicine, they cross organ meridians. They interfere with the nervous system, and so you could have a scar on your knee that can be causing an issue in your chest or pain in your shoulder. So it's important, and we do neural therapy to inject scars to release the blockages that scars can be causing. Subluxation, so that would mean a vertebrae is out of balance and you need to see a chiropractor. Your chi flow, your prana, so having an acupuncturist on board, having a body worker on board. So all of these things are really important in clearing out if you really want to be able to help your body detoxify. Earthing. Oh, it's another one of my favorite things. I need to do a webinar. These are a few of my favorite things. So earthing, I don't have it on here, but you can see, probably find it online, but like in a dark field microscope that you take a sample of blood and you look at the blood under a microscope, and you can see if blood is really thick and sludgy and stuck together. After someone stands barefoot on the earth for 15, 20, 25 minutes, and then they go back and take a blood sample, you can see that the sludge is gone. So earthing is a beautiful thing to do to help connect your body to the earth, to get in tune with the earth, to have good flow, and to help you detox. It also is really good if you're traveling for jet lag. As soon as you get to your new time zone, shoes off, feet in the ground. So here in the desert, it's harder to find green grass, but I do have some nice patches that I found, and so standing outside in the earth barefoot is one of my favorite things to do. So that's another thing you can start doing right away. Hopefully many of you are watching and have beautiful backyards with grass, and you can just get out there and start earthing. Take your shoes off at the front door. So when we are outside in the world, our shoes are collecting all sorts of dirt and toxins and pesticides. And so if you don't take your shoes off, you just track all that in through your home. So having a shoe rack or a mat or whatever it is, and just having a shoeless house. I have like a little basket, it's a Hello Kitty basket, that I put socks in so I can offer socks if someone is coming over. But another simple thing that can have really profound effects. Become a filter fanatic. So everything should be filtered. Your air should be filtered. Your shower should have a filter to get the chlorine out. Same for your bath. Your water should be filtered. And so I'm not going to get into the details. You could always contact me separately, but having an awareness and making sure that you are filtering all these things in your life so you are excluding toxins. House plants. So here's some great plants. I love bamboo. I love spiderfly. I love all these plants. But these are plants that are known to help cleanse the air. So having a consciousness, if you're going to put plants in the house, then make sure you have some of these so they're helping to detoxify the air you're breathing. Eat organic. So we talked about eating, really, really important. So like if you're juicing, just think about must be organic, because if you're juicing, say, celery, you may juice like 7 stalks of celery. That's a lot of celery. You want to make sure you're not concentrating pesticides, So make sure your food is organic. Do the best you can do. GMO free. Very, very important. I test glyphosate levels on my patients, and they're high. And so the patients that eat organic and have been doing so and are really, compliant with it, their glyphosate levels are not as high, which means they don't have as much Roundup in their body. And glyphosate is just a really bad toxin, has a lot of detrimental effects. So eat GMO-free, be conscious, prepare it properly, pray over your food, enjoy your food, chew your food. Just all really important to lower your toxic load. Unplug. Unplug from technology and plug into your soul. I'm not bashing technology. If it wasn't for technology, I wouldn't be coming to you right now with this information. But there's a balance, and there's a time, and there's a place for everything. So turn off your Wi-Fi at night. Just turn it off. You don't need to sleep bathing in Wi-Fi. Be conscious of where you keep your cell. Most people keep their cell on their nightstands. I charge my cell in my bathroom in a totally separate room. And if you do keep your cell next to you, which sometimes I do, I put it to airplane mode. That way I'm not getting any of the negative frequencies from it. When you're talking on your phone, don't put it up to your head. That burning you feel, that's not a good thing. So if you speak on speakerphone, unplug just, the blue light. So get off the technology a couple of hours before bed. Plug into yourself in the morning. I like to wake up and meditate before I do anything else. Make yourself the most important before your Instagram feed or your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed. That's a really, really important one. Avoid pharmaceuticals. In addition to side effects, they have a lot of toxic fillers. Say no to the flu shot, which has all sorts of crazy things in it. Say no to vaccines and seek to heal the root causes. And so that's a personal preference of mine. So not necessarily, I'm not telling you not to have vaccines or not to have the flu shot. BRMI is not telling you to not have the flu shot or not have vaccines, but I'm saying investigate. I can tell you personally that I don't take a flu shot. I take a homeopathic flu shot. I don't get vaccines. If I need to have something, I do it homeopathically. So that's my personal perspective. Do your research, do your education. Don't just blindly take something because Walgreens is telling you to take it, or because it's free, or because it's covered by your insurance. Do your research. There are a lot of harmful effects that go along with these things. And if you do the things we've been talking about, clear your regulatory blockages, address your lymphatic system, your nutrients, your diet, you're not going to need these things. The body doesn't get sick because it is pharmaceutical deficient. It gets sick because something's out of balance, whether it be in your lifestyle, your diet, your organs. We need to find what's out of balance and balance that. And that's how you heal. Use naturally based products. If you can't pronounce it, be wary of it. If you see it on TV, I'm like, don't buy it. It's got to be, it's got a big sponsor and they're just concerned with money. And think about it's, your body care products. So your skin is like your largest eliminatory organ, and what you put on it has a big effect. So think about what you're putting on your body, your shampoo, your soap, your toothpaste. Think about your lawn. Please don't spray pesticides on your lawn. There are natural ways to do it, and the harmful effects of pesticides leading to all sorts of neurological diseases is much worse than if you have a weed. So think about lawn care. Think about your cleaning products. These are things sometimes we don't think about. We might be eating all organic, but then we're putting junk on our body or on our lawn or to clean our counters. So it's got to be across the board. I love the EWG.org. That's the Environmental Working Group. They just have great website, and they have, if you want to know what's a good user body care product. So I love them as a resource. So check them out. So give me shelter. Think about these things in your house, the EMF, mold. Do you have carpets that are off-gassing? Are you living in a polluted area? Are your filters clean? What kind of paints are you using? I painted my house. I used this paint I found. It was like made of milk, good use for milk. It was like paint you could eat. So those are the kind of things that we want to be surrounding ourselves with. Think about your mattress. We spend so much time, like a third of our life in bed. It's worth the investment to get an organic mattress. Filters, your cooking utensils, do they have iron in them? Too much iron can be a pro-oxidant and cause inflammation. And so I check iron levels in patients, and often we need to switch your cooking utensils or the pans with the non-stick chemical coating. Bad, throw those out. The microwave. Throw the microwave out. I have a toaster oven that I use when I don't feel like firing up the big oven. I like to keep my spices in my microwave because, yes, the microwave is handy and you get lazy and you just want to cook something real quick, but it is not a healthy way. It denatures your food. So if you are eating something healthy, you now just ruined the benefit of it. So I've found in the past by filling my microwave with all my spices, that way it's like, oh, no, can't use it. It's full. I've got to use the regular oven. So thinking about the house you're living in, these are all great ways to help you detoxify. So it's not just detoxifying your cells and your organs, it's detoxifying your home and your environment around you. So here's a little detox challenge of mine that I like to have patients do. I like to do myself. And it's sort of simple, sort of not, but it really, you'll feel the difference. Sweat daily. And so on the days when I don't make it to hot yoga or I can't get in the sauna, sometimes I will just drive around in the heat because it's really hot here in Arizona and I won't put the air conditioning on. And so I'll just make myself sweat. But you can also drink hot tea, get in a hot bath, bundle up. So, but getting your sweat on. So again, hot yoga, try it, great way. Infrared sauna, get one, great way. Drink the 3 liters of water daily. Unplug 2 hours before bed and breathe consciously 10 minutes 2 times a day. I recommend morning when you wake up and evening before you go to bed, but you want to do it on lunch hour, you want to do it after a stressful meeting. And the way we breathe is in through our nose, and we let our bellies expand. And then out. And as we breathe out, our belly drops down. So we're so used to breathing in and sucking in our gut because we all want to have a flat gut. And this is the opposite of that. So try it with me for a few breaths. You can put your hand on your belly, feel your belly rising. And as you exhale, feel it drop down. A lot of us breathe shallowly, so we just breathe into our chest. So really feeling the air come down to the diaphragm and getting into the belly. Everything changes when we breathe. So try the Dr. Stills Detox Challenge, 30 days, change your life. Let me know how it goes for you. So take care of your body, please. It's the only place you have to live in. It's a sacred, precious vessel. I hope that this information was helpful for you. If you want to keep in touch, I'm pretty active on social media under Dr. Sharon Stills. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I have a Facebook group, Red Hot Healing. Send a request to join. That's one of my new favorite projects. drstills.com is my website. yourredlife.com is another one of my websites, and that's where you can learn about my red deck and even purchase it if you're interested. This kind of goes through 39 different steps, at-home tips you can do to reinvent your health, explore your spirit, and discover your sexy. They're 2-sided cards with takeaway tips and information. They're a lot of fun. Project. So all about red. womenshealthnetwork.com. I'm one of their physician experts, and you can read articles in my blog posts there. And if you want to contact me personally, there's my assistant's phone number, 520-308-5040. So it's getting late. Let me just see if I can peek and see if there's any messages for me. So let's see. No cold drinks. Does this include smoothies? Should I not use frozen berries? Good question. Yeah, your smoothies should really be more room temperature. So you can use frozen berries, like Trader Joe's has a lot of great organic berries, but take them out and let them defrost so that they're not as cold. I was told my magnesium levels are low. If I supplement with magnesium at night, do I also need to take calcium? I don't know how you were told your magnesium levels are low or who told you that. The best way to look at magnesium levels is in the red blood cells. So a lot of times just running a serum magnesium is not as beneficial, but yes, you could take a little calcium to balance that out. Just make sure you're having your levels of calcium, your vitamin D, your magnesium checked properly. Let's see here. If your dosha is vata and you drink a lot of water, you run the risk of stripping your body of minerals. Should you add lemon and a pinch of Himalayan sea salt? Is there a danger of taking in too much salt? Good question. So yes, you want to make sure you're being mineralized. So doing red blood cell mineral tests can tell you where your mineral levels are at. And yes, adding some lemon. I didn't mention, but another thing I love to do for detoxification is start the morning with hot water and lemon. And that's a great way to just kind of detox and get things flowing. Yeah, there's always a danger. Is there danger of taking too much salt? So there's always a danger of taking too much of anything. So you want to be using the mineralized salt. And I haven't really seen a problem if you're using like a quarter of a teaspoon a couple of times a day. How often should one do infrared saunas for maximum benefit? So that's something definitely need to discuss with your healthcare practitioner. If your adrenals are really depleted, it might not be the best thing for you to do. You might have to build up your strength. When I have patients who have strong constitutions, I sometimes have them doing it every day or 5 days a week. If your toxicity, if you're doing it preventatively, even just doing it once or twice a week, it's important that you replace your minerals, you stay hydrated. You just, you don't deplete yourself. So I'd want you to, have some good guidance on that with whoever you're doing the sauna with, with your healthcare practitioner. How dangerous is it to wear clothing made from synthetic fabric? Non-GMO cotton. Yeah, non-GMO cotton is the way to go. I mean, unfortunately, they don't make enough non-GMO cotton clothes in every different style. So yeah, I get, non-GMO cotton bedding and pillows, and I try to get clothes. But yeah, cotton is highly sprayed and polyester is synthetic. And so I like silk. I like wool if you're not allergic. So there's a good business idea for whoever asked that. Starting a really great full spectrum non-GMO cotton clothing wear with everything from fancy wear to day wear. So yeah, that's something, if you can find it and get it, always better, for sure. Is organic coffee okay to drink? Yeah, and I have no financial gain. I like the Bulletproof coffee. I mean, I really appreciate what he's done and all his wisdom, Dave Asprey. And his coffee has been assayed to not have mold, which is a problem with a lot of coffee. So it is very expensive. So if you're not going to drink his, then definitely drinking organic coffee. And I like the, putting the medium chain triglyceride oil in it and the grass-fed butter. I think it slows down the impact of the coffee on your body, and so you can metabolize it better, and it's not such a stress to your nervous system. I too love my hot yoga. I was cautioned by my acupuncturist that sweating is depleting. Any thoughts, recommendations on balancing the depletion the heavy sweating might cause? So yes, I mean, it is depleting, like I was just saying with the sauna, but as long as you're repleting, then it's a good detoxifying thing to do. So making sure you drink enough water, making sure you're getting your electrolytes, making sure you're getting your minerals, getting enough sleep, avoiding alcohol. So one of the other things I like about hot yoga is that it really keeps me committed to a healthy lifestyle. I'm not a big drinker, but like if I do have a drink and then I go in the hot room the next day, I feel it and I'm miserable. And so it keeps me in good habits. And so, yes, too much sweating is depleting if you're not repleting. So just make sure that you're repleting. And the last question, the medical medium says to drink celery juice to detox the liver. Do you agree with this? I don't really know what the medical medium says. I haven't heard a lot about the medical medium. So I think all green juices. I don't think you should just drink one juice. So I like greens and dandelion greens and mustard greens and getting some cucumber in there and parsley and cilantro. and really mixing it up. We don't want to be doing the same thing every day. We can create food sensitivities, and we want to get a broad spectrum variety of minerals and nutrients in our body. So I'll have to check out this medical medium, but lots, celery's definitely great. It's got a lot of minerals, but I don't think that enough on its own is enough to detox the liver. I think you need special nutrients and doing castor oil and all these other things that we've talked about. So I think that's the last question. And so I'm going to leave you with me and my legs up the tree. This was taken in California in, where were we? Yosemite. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful land. And so that's me with a nice little sequoia, practicing what I preach, getting on the ground, draining my lymph, balancing my nervous system, and just doing my best to detoxify. So I thank you all for being here. I hope it was of benefit and of service, and that you can take at least one thing and hopefully many more and integrate them into your life, share them with your loved ones, share them with your healthcare practitioner to get better guidance. And I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Keep in touch. Bye-bye.